All right, men. Welcome to today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages: How to Feel Good Enough. Now, if you sort of think like, well, I already feel good enough, I'm already doing well, just hold on. Like, we're going to see how true that is as we go on here. Um, but like I said, my name is Mike Frazier, MD. I'm a psychiatrist and marriage coach, and I help high achieving men have better, more intimate marriages. So if you're a self-motivated, high-achieving man, you're used to success. Okay. You found success in your career through your training, whether that's through something professional, something entrepreneurial. You've been financially successful. You're respected at your work. So, things are going okay, at least from the outside, right? But what some people don't know is that a lot of your motivation comes from a certain fear. Okay. And that fear is that if you don't reach a certain level of success, right, in work or in family or in finances or in church or whatever, or if you're not better than somebody, your peers or whatever, or if you're not smarter than other people, okay, that you just won't be good enough. Okay. So there's that fear behind it, right? Like I have to get to that next level. I have to make it there because when I'm there, I'm finally going to feel good enough, right? When I'm there, finally I can kind of rest and relax, okay, be okay. So here's how you can kind of check, okay, and see if this connects with you. Maybe already just hearing that is like, oh yeah, I know how that feels. But if you get threatened or sad or jealous or angry when other people have the same success or more success than you in these areas, okay, you can know that this is an issue. All right. You can know that at least in part, you're motivated by this fear of not being good enough. Or another way this shows up, right, is just this need to be superior, this need to be in a higher position. Okay. Um, yeah, it comes out in a lot of different ways. So, maybe that's physically, maybe that you feel like you have to be more fit than the people around you. Maybe that's you have to have more money than the people around you, or mentally you have to be smarter, or with socially you have to have more friends, or be the life of the party, or spiritually. Now, this has to be kind of a false spirituality because Jesus does not teach this, or most religions don't teach this to be better than the people around you. But oh, I'm more religious, or I follow my religion better than people, or I keep the commandments better than the people around me. Okay, so if you get a lot of sense of self-worth from being better than the people around you, okay, you can know that really you're in part, at least, and probably pretty heavily motivated by this fear of not being good enough, because you have to be constantly checking around you. Oh, am I better than him? Am I better than him? Am I better than her? Right? Okay, that's what's behind you. That's what's chasing you. Now, the thing is, this strategy, it actually kind of works, right? It works until it doesn't, let's say. So when I ran track in middle school, and one of the coaches said, okay, if you want to run really fast, imagine that there's this angry dog chasing you down the track. Now, I also got attacked by a dog when I was, I don't know, 10 or so. Uh, so it was a Rottweiler. It bit my leg, it bit my head. Like the owner had to come out and tackle this dog. Um, so this analogy was especially meaningful for me, right? I kind of picture this dog, and that it does motivate you. It does. Fear does motivate you to run, right? To run faster, to, you know, get away from something. Okay. It is motivating. It is. Okay. It can propel you to success in some areas of your life, right? It could have gotten you really to where you are. And a lot of times this comes out professionally, because as guys, we tend to compare ourselves professionally to, the people around us. So here's the issue though, right? The big issue at this is the way that you got there is going to be the same way you are when you get there. Like this dog doesn't go away. That's the problem. This dog doesn't disappear once you cross some finish line. There is no finish line. You just keep running and running and running, because here's how you can prove this to yourself, right? So one of the easiest ways to look at it is financially. You're like, okay, when I'm making $5,000 a month, I'm going to feel great about where I'm at, right? Then you hit 5,000, you're like, yeah, well, maybe this isn't so good. Maybe I need to have 10,000. Then you get to 10,000. Then it's 20, 30, 40. Maybe you're up in the millions of dollars a year now, and you still want more, right? Okay, the dog's still chasing you. It didn't go away. Okay, there is not a finish line. That's the problem. When you're using this as your motivation, that dog just doesn't go away, guys. It stinks. It's hard, right? So again, if the problem is if it wasn't enough money then, it won't be enough now. Now, like I'm talking to high achieving guys here, and so like you have enough to cover your expenses and more, right? Cover basic expenses more. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So once you go from 100,000 to 200,000, 2 to 3 to 4, right? There's not really that much difference in your lifestyle. Okay. But in your mind, right, you're still like, oh, I've got to have more. Or for respect, right? You're like, oh, I just need more respect from the people around me. If it wasn't enough then, it's not going to be enough now. Okay. It's just this chase doesn't end. The dog does not go away. Okay. So here's what happens in marriage, because a lot of times people don't see this from the outside, right? People are just like, oh, Mike, yeah, you do so great your job, and you seem to have such a great family, right? From the outside, things look good, okay, because people don't really experience this fear that you have as much, right? So, but what happens in a marriage is your wife knows it, she sees it, she knows what's going on, okay? So, what guys try to do in their marriage is this dog is still chasing them, this fear of not being good enough is still there, and what they want to be is the quote unquote perfect husband. Okay. So I'm going to be a great husband. I'm going to cook. I'm going to clean. I'm going to pay the bills. I'm going to do all this stuff. But the way that they measure success on this is not by them saying, okay, like, did I align myself with who I want to be as a man? Right. That's what we teach in the strongman system. That's what ends up working long term. But what we do instead is we measure our success based on what our wife gives us. Okay. Is our wife giving us attention, appreciation, and affection, or sex? Right. So if I'm a good husband, what I should expect in return from my wife is attention, appreciation, sex. Okay. So they go and they're like, okay, yeah, cook, clean, do all this. What I should get back now, attention, appreciation, affection. Right. So again, they're running towards this being a bad husband and towards being a good husband or a not good enough husband. Right. And again, from the outside, here's the funny part, right? People are going to say, "Oh my gosh, yeah, look at this guy." Oh, I look, my wife's friends used to say stuff like, "Oh, like I wish my husband was more like yours," or if they weren't married, "Oh, I wish I had a husband like yours," right? And I would get a lot of good feeling from that, right? I would feel elevated, right? I would feel good. But then, my wife was not giving me the attention, appreciation, affection, sex that I wanted, right? And that was upsetting. Okay. So to me, I was saying like, well, if everyone else can see it, why can't my wife, right? Why can't she see it? Why isn't she giving me what I would expect from this exchange? Okay. So I want you to consider that if this is you, right? If you can relate to doing lots of things for your wife, but you're not seeing that attention, appreciation, affection come back to you, why would that be? Okay. Here's why. All right. It's because you're treating it like an exchange. Okay. This is what I call the mosquito cycle. If you go back to the very early episodes, you'll kind of understand this more. But it's basically you do nice things for your wife, but there are strings attached to that. Okay. Your intention is not actually to do something for her. It kind of is, but the actual intention is to get something back. It's not to give, it's to get. Okay, that's why I call it the mosquito. You're there, but you're trying to suck off attention, appreciation, affection. And what typically happens is you get less attention, appreciation, and affection, right? Because it's not attractive to be used, right? Your wife doesn't like being used, and that's basically what you're doing. Okay. And your wife knows that other people don't see it, right? But your wife can sense it. Okay. And that's why people from the outside are like, oh, you're great. And your wife's like, what the heck's wrong with you? Or she's like, oh yeah, this is nice, but I sometimes too, your wife will be actually confused. She'll be like, I don't know, like you are doing lots of nice things for me, but I just don't feel that attraction to you, or I just don't really feel like telling you thank you. They can't put their finger on it, but they feel it, right? And this is what they feel. They feel the strings attached to it. Yeah, you're doing those nice things, but it's to it's not actually to help her. It's so that she will then do something for you. At a deeper sense, it's so that you will finally feel good enough, right? That's the title of this episode. It's so that you can finally feel like, okay, I'm okay as a man, right? I'm okay as a person, especially as a man in your marriage, right? Like if you're searching for your sense of manhood through your wife telling you you're great or having sex with you, yeah, like you're going to be really upset if she's not giving that to you. But she's not going to give it to you if that's your only reason for being a good man and a good husband. Yeah, that might sound a little confusing, but I'll try to clear it up as we go on here. So, again, why are we doing this? Okay, to feel good enough as a husband and as a man, right? Problem is, it never quite works, right? Because, first of all, when we act this way, we're less likely to even get what we want in the first place, right? When we're like, oh, look what I did for you. Look what I did today. Look, I cleaned the house. Look, I did this, right? And then you just kind of wait and you're sitting and you're waiting for her to say, oh, yeah, thanks so much. I love you. And let's go have sex together, right? Okay. She doesn't do that, right? Because she senses that that's what it was about in the first place. Okay. But here's the other sad part about this, that even if, let's say it quote unquote works, right? Let's say that you cleaned the house today and your wife really did appreciate it. And she said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you guys had sex and it was a great day. Okay. Even when that happens, like you feel good that day, but then the next day you don't anymore, right? You're like, oh, well, that was good yesterday, but how come it didn't happen again today? Right. And now your wife's like, what the heck? Okay. So when we approach it in this way, even when we get what we're hoping for, we feel like we're owed more, or that what we're given wasn't really genuine, right? So maybe your wife finally is like, wow, my husband did do a lot. I guess I probably should tell him thank you, or maybe we should have sex. So I guess we'll do it, right? And so then you're like, oh, you didn't even mean that, right? That wasn't even genuine. Okay. So I used to do this a lot. Um, so I read through the 5 love languages. I was like, okay, my love language is words of affirmation. So what you need to do for me, Elizabeth, is you need to write me notes all the time that tell me how great I am or how much you love me. I didn't say it in exactly those words, but that's basically what I said. And so she did it. She started writing notes to me. But but it didn't work, right? I didn't feel like what I was hoping, right? Which is really good enough. Strong as a man, good as a man, desired sexually, right? I didn't feel it because it wasn't really there, right? Or even times when sex was good, right? Finally, we'd have sex for a while, and I'd be like, well, this should have been happening a long time ago. Or sure, we're having sex, but you're not appreciating me enough. Like it was not good. Okay. And again, this is why your wife is not as impressed with you as everyone else is because, and here's the key, guys. She knows that no matter how much she gives you, no matter how much attention, appreciation, or affection or sex she gives you, it will not be enough. Okay. Let that sink in for a second. Okay. She gets tired of doing this because she knows that no matter how much attention, appreciation, affection, and sex she gives you, it will not be enough. It'll never be enough for you because it can't be. Okay. She can't fill that void of you feeling like a good, strong man, a good enough person. She can't do it, but you're putting it on her, right? That's what this is about. You are trying to make her make you feel good about yourself. It just doesn't work. Look, basically, you're using her. She knows it. You're trying to use her to make you feel good about yourself. That is the problem here. Okay. It's extremely unattractive. And even if she can't exactly put her finger on it, if this is true, she will sense it and know it. And the symptoms will be you have a poor sex life is probably number one. And then from there, maybe she's not appreciated that much. Maybe she's spending more time away. Maybe she's saying, I don't know, I just don't feel it, right? I don't feel that connection anymore. And she doesn't feel the connection because, again, you're using her. We talk about person versus object. Book Leadership and Self-Deception is really good about expressing that idea. But basically, you're not seeing or treating her like an individual. You're seeing and treating her like an object, and her job is to make you feel good about yourself. Okay. It's not attractive, guys. And it just doesn't work. And it's a symptom of this whole thing of not being good enough. That dog that's chasing us, right? That, okay, we're not good enough. We're not good enough. Okay, well, let me do this next thing, and then I'll finally be good enough. And it just doesn't work. Okay. But and again, it kind of works with career stuff, and even like some community work and things like that. You can get a certain level of success and recognition, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of working. But in your marriage, it does not work because your wife can feel it, right? She knows you're trying to manage your sense of self-worth through her, and it's very unattractive. So again, here's why this doesn't work. No amount of money, fame, prestige, fitness, attention, appreciation, affection, sex, there's no amount of that will ever tip the scales and finally make you feel good enough about who you are. Just won't happen. Okay. Another way to put this, nothing external can solve the internal problem of not feeling good enough. Nothing external can solve the internal problem of not feeling good enough. You cannot outrun this dog. It will always be there. Okay. What you have to do is you have to turn around, you have to face that dog down. Okay. There's not a finish line where that dog stops chasing you. You have to turn around and make that dog stop. Okay. So this is the big shift that needs to happen inside of you. And it can take time, right? And, at least my experience has been, you get this kind of breakthrough epiphany on this, and you're like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I can't manage it through other people. And so, you start kind of doing things more in the way we're going to talk about. And then you kind of fall back in the old way. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I've kind of slipped back into that. Let me go back to the way that works, right? Of getting my sense of self from somewhere else. And just eventually spend more and more time in that, self-worth that's not validated externally. You feel good about who you are no matter what the people around you are thinking, because you're living true to who you want to be. And it shifts back and forth, but you end up spending more and more time. So don't feel bad if you listen to this podcast and you're like, oh yeah, I get it. And then tomorrow you're kind of back to the old way. It's fine, right? It just takes practice. So again, but the big shift that needs to happen. So there's a book called, there's a book that talks about this example. Driven is the book. And so he gives this example of the 100-foot pole. So he says, what do you do when you reach the top of a 100-foot pole? And, so think about that. What would be your answer? Maybe it's climb back down. But for me, the answer was always, okay, go to the next pole, find a 110-foot pole, right? But the actual answer to this sort of meditation riddle is that there is no pole, right? In other words, there's no certain level where you're finally going to feel, there's no external thing that's going to make you feel fine and accomplished and good enough, right? This dog, it's just in your mind, right? You're creating this dog. It's not real. Okay. This dog can disappear. However you want to think about it, this dog can disappear. This dog can now just be your friend, and you can walk on that journey of life together, right? Whatever kind of comforts you more with this. The dog doesn't have to be chasing you. Or maybe this dog is chasing you to just give you a message that you are good enough, right? And you've been running from it this whole time, and it was just trying to tell you that, right? That you're good enough. But you already have great worth. Okay? If you're a religious guy, you're a son of God, right? If you're a Christian person, Christian man, look, somebody amazing went through extreme difficulties, died for you. He would have done it just for you. That's how important you are. Okay. So even if you're not religious, maybe this analogy could be helpful. Like, um, you know, just being a perfectly evolved human, right? Or you could probably relate to an idea that, like, if let's just say your worth is $100, right? If I'm worth $100, so are you. So is the homeless guy, right? We're all worth that $100. So chasing your worth through money or fame or prestige or fitness, right? It's like running to find $100 bill that's in your pocket. Like, it's already there. So stop running and trying to get it. Okay. So once you kind of sense this, you're like, oh man, you can just kind of relax, right? That dog's not chasing you anymore. Now it's at your side. Now it told you you're good enough, right? Dogs can talk in your imagination, let's say. So that dog's at your side now, and you can just kind of sit, right? You're not running after this um, feeling of wanting to finally feel good enough. You're not chasing it from these external sources. For a lot of people, a lot of high achieving guys, it's a little bit unsettling, right? Because you're so used to that dog motivating. You're like, well, what's going to motivate me now, right? If the dog isn't there, why should I even move at all? Why should I keep running? Because has been your motivation for so long. So what I want you to think about here is that an idea of a selfish motivation versus a service motivation. So really trying to earn your worth, it's a selfish motivation, right? And again, it can create good results for you. It just, in your marriage, it won't, right? Because your wife can see through it. So the scripture that I really like for this, Matthew 16:25, for whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Okay. So this idea of having like Jesus or Christ inside of you, that's what's going to give you your worth, right? Because hey, someone perfect cares about me, and it's going to give you your motivation, right? Because it says if you're going to save your life, or in other words, if you're going to be selfish, right, eventually you're going to lose the whole point, right? You're never even going to find your self-worth because you're chasing it where it doesn't exist, okay? But if you lose your life, in other words, you forget about yourself, right? And you stop trying to earn your worth. You just let it be there with Christ, right? Or again, if you're not a religious person, just like realizing like I have worth, I'm not going to get it from somewhere else. If you lose your life for Jesus' sake, and Jesus is the example of service, right? He's the example of someone who cares deeply about the people around him, right? Now, of course, we talk about too having boundaries and finding that balance between respecting yourself and respecting the people around you. We're talking mainly about worth though today, right? So when we go out there and we let Jesus be our sense of self, or if not Jesus, whatever gives you that sense of self, and then we direct our motivation towards serving the people around us, okay, that's when you find your life. That's when you find joy. So instead of that motivation being something chasing you, right, and you're trying to escape it and finally feel like some sense of peace, like now that dog's at your side and you can feel peace, or that dog disappeared, however you want to think about it, you're already at peace. Okay. And so now you look out and you're like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. Maybe I can do something about it. Maybe I can help these people around you. Right. So for me, I know for sure it's the times that I've been really involved in helping the people around me, whether that's even now through coaching when I'm with a person, or even doing these podcasts and I really feel like I'm giving something of value. That's when I feel the best, or talking with people, or when I do something kind for my wife or my kids, right? When I know in myself that's coming from that good place. That's about service. It's about me wanting to give something to them. Okay. And not expecting something back just because I want to do that. Okay. That's when I feel the happiest. And even if you're not religious, I think you'll realize, hey, the times when I have done that, when I've gone out and just helped someone around me, like that's when I feel the best. So I think that's what Jesus is talking about here when he says, when you lose your life, you're going to find it. When you stop worrying about yourself so much and trying to earn your worth, and you know it's there, and you go out and serve people, that's when you're going to find what life's all about, the real joy that's there. So again, if that dog's not there chasing you, why keep running? So like, why go to work? How about to help your clients, right? So, or to help whatever. you have a job because you're providing value in some way. So just remembering, look, we all have equal worth, but we have different gifts. Okay. So your unique gifts, they were meant to bless and help other people in unique ways. So why go to work? You're like, hey, like I have these gifts. If you believe in God, God's given me these gifts, and I'm going to go out and use them to help the people around me. I'm going to lose my life in serving others and then find the joy that comes from doing that. Okay. So why be a good husband if it's not about gaining attention, appreciation, and affection and sex? Why should I be a good husband? Well, just because that's who you want to be. You want to be a strong and loving partner to your wife. You want to serve her in a way that feels good to you and that's honest and loving and caring. Okay. So you see her as someone to serve instead of an object to serve you, person versus object, right? So here's the paradox about all this. Okay. And again, I think this is what Jesus was pointing out there too. When you stop trying to get attention, appreciation, and affection from your wife, right? When you stop trying to get that and you just focus on, hey, here's my wife, let me see what I can do to serve her, that's when you're going to get much more attention, appreciation, and affection, right? Most likely. Okay. Also, this is when you're going to get more success in your business because your clients can feel this too, right? If it's just about trying to take advantage of them, okay, and get money out of them, right? They're going to sense that. And when it's about serving them and providing an exchange of value, and you're trying to give them a great deal, right? You're trying to give them more in value than you're taking in payment. Okay. They're going to sense that too, right? And that's likely when you'll get more success in your business. But again, even if you don't get these things, right, you've won anyway because you have felt your worth where it belongs and you're out there serving in a way that is unique to you and that you feel good about. Okay. So again, this is the other paradox. So your wife's going to give you likely more attention, appreciation, affection. Your clients and the people around you and your kids, right? They're going to just be more drawn to you and they're going to give it to you freely, right? Because now your service is given freely. Where before, you were giving to your wife, right? You were giving service to her with strings attached, like you wanted something back. Now it's not like that, right? You want to serve her, and now she can freely give it back instead of feeling like she has to give it back, which is a killer for passion and intimacy. Okay. All right, guys. So in summary, high achieving men were typically motivated by a fear of not being good enough. There's that dog chasing us. And this dog, it motivates us to significant achievements, but leaves them feeling empty once they get there. Okay. So that's the hard part. And it also fails miserably in marriage because your wife knows you're trying to manage your self-worth through her. In other words, she knows you're using her to feel good about yourself, and that dries up intimacy, it dries up passion like nothing else. Okay? So here's what you need to do. Stop trying to earn your worth and realize you already have it. Stop chasing the $100 bill. It's already in your pocket. Okay? And then lose your life by using your gifts to serve other people. Right? And again, you just have to practice this. It takes practice to shift, right? And to say, no, I do have worth, and let me go out and see how I can use my gifts to help the people around me. Okay. And then paradoxically, guys, this is when you're likely to get much more attention, appreciation, and affection from your wife and financial success in your business. All right, men. So if you want to learn more about these strategies, come join us in the Strongman System. For 2022, the focus is really going to be on building this community of guys who are doing this together, right? We're becoming strong and loving leaders of our homes who are, in this together to build ourselves up in terms of our spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and sexual strength, right? And this is a huge part. This is what I call spiritual strength, is just knowing you have that value. This is like the core element, right? Knowing you have that value, so you're not trying to get it from your wife, and then going out and serving in the way that you are uniquely suited to do that. And we have very specific tasks and things like that because as high achieving guys, we like that, right? So we're going to be working towards certain goals and we're going to be helping and motivating each other to get there. It's going to be just a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. So head over to MikeFrazierMD.com and join up with us. And stay strong, men, and we will see you next episode.